All right, here's the first story. We got this from Timcast.com. Biden wanted OPEC. OPEC Plus cuts delayed until after the midterms, Saudi Arabia says. Biden now faces allegations of quid pro quo, similar to alleged deal that was the basis for impeaching former President Donald Trump. This is from Hans Mank. He says this is extremely damning. In Trump's case, the quote victim of the quid pro quo, Zelensky, emphatically denied there was any suggestion of a quid pro quo. In Biden's case, the victim is formally accusing the U.S. of just that. Quick and simple gist of the story. Biden administration goes to Saudi Arabia and says, we know you're going to start cutting the production of oil. Wait 1 month. Just 1 month. That's conveniently just after the midterms. Saudi Arabia said, no, we're not going to do that. And we're not going to do it for economic reasons. Now, it was initially reported that they were siding with Russia. That's one way you can frame it. And I think the media jumped at that because it kind of absolves the Democrats of any kind of a responsibility, that it was really about just American interests and stopping the war. Now, we learned it was for 1 month. If the Democrats' goal was really to help the American people with lower gas prices and stop the war with Russia, to stop Russia being able to finance their war, they wouldn't have said, keep production up for 1 extra month. They would have said, do not cut your production. Do not let Russia do this. Instead, it was obvious. They wanted a political advantage, a quid pro quo. And when they didn't get it, what we see now are the Democrats threatening Saudi Arabia with pulling military aid and other support.
You know, if they really wanted to help, they would allow domestic energy exploration and production. They're not doing that. In the name of green energy, we're shipping in oil from Saudi Arabia, all in the name of fighting climate change, which is absolutely absurd. How many Yemenis children had to die for the U.S. petrodollar? And now we're at a situation where the Saudi empire is just slapping Joe Biden back and forth. And if you remember, just a couple weeks ago, Joe Biden had his landmark trip to Saudi Arabia, where he was going to turn on the faucet to oil. And after that trip, the Biden administration literally released a statement saying Saudi Arabia is on board. They're going to help us lower gas prices. Saudi Arabia came out and said, no, Joe's lying here. And now we're finding out, according to Saudi Arabia, which is absolutely just such a big bombshell when it comes to Saudi Arabia saying this on the world stage because of the petrodollar, because of Yemen, because of how connected the United States was, especially when it came to financing radical jihadists all throughout the Middle East with Saudi Arabia. You see the decoupling of Saudi Arabia and America. That to me is the biggest story here, which will have huge ramifications on the financial economy, not just with gas prices, but with the purchasing power of the US dollar.
So World War III, is that what's happening?
No, just incompetent, crazy leadership. And this is not the first time we had a quid pro Joe, which I think it should be changed to after this latest revelation. And Biden has a history of this. Yeah, he did this in 2015, especially when it came to the prosecutor in Ukraine looking into Burisma Oil and his son's connections to this. He bragged with the president of the Council on Foreign Relations about firing him while holding aid money hostage to that particular country. So again, this is nothing new. This is a quid pro Joe.
But this was done in such plain sight, other than the 1 month aspect of it. I mean, he went hat in hand over to Saudi Arabia very publicly. He denied that he was going hat in hand, that it was about oil. It was about the war effort, Russia. It was about the environment, climate change, all of these other things that he was going to go over there and fist bump with people he had said on the campaign trail he was going to make a pariah, that he was going to isolate because of their role in Jamal Khashoggi's death, a murder. And now, but their public reaction, even to when OPEC Plus cut the production, really felt like they felt double-crossed.
Yeah.
It wasn't, so much of this really happened. You could just watch television and see that this was unfolding. But the 1 month aspect of it is really what's most damning.
I say good. I am... Man, hearing that Joe Biden is reeling from this fills me with what's that Schadenfreude?
Yes.
Yeah, because Joe Biden has hampered U.S. energy production. Joe Biden said that he wants to get us off fossil fuels. He's bragged about it. He campaigned on it. Congratulations. You will now reap what you have sown. You wanted to shut down Keystone. You wanted to ban fracking. You wanted to deny permits for energy exploration in the United States. I get it. A lot of people are concerned about carbon and fossil fuels and all that stuff. Great. Now, those people who are angry can go look at the pump and ask themselves why it costs so much money. But hey, as long as they know they're making it more expensive for themselves, I got no problem with them advocating for something they believe in. The problem is these people are screaming. There's that viral video where this woman's like, it was $95 to fill up my tank. The religious right did this. No, you did it to yourself. You voted for Joe Biden, who bragged about doing it. And now, because of this, because he campaigned on what you wanted, he goes and he bends the knee to Saudi Arabia and he says, come on, man, please, we need gas. We don't produce it anymore because of me. And then they laugh and they say, nah, it's okay. We're going to work with Russia on this one. And then he pouts and he has a temper tantrum and says, and we're going to cut off aid from your country. And then the media dances around the fact that this is overt corruption on behalf of the president, who has done two things. He has hampered energy production in the U.S. for political gain, and then he begs Saudi Arabia to make concessions to the United States just so he can win the midterms. And when they don't do it, he and other Democrats threaten them. Talk about corrupt garbage.
Yeah, there's also a lot of other things happening behind the scenes geopolitically. A lot of people are saying Saudi Arabia is with Russia, but I think it's even beyond that, because Saudi Arabia makes most of their money selling oil. What has this administration promised to do? Get off oil. This directly is going to piss off the Saudi Arabians, who are saying our whole economy is at stake here, especially if the whole Western world gets off oil. Why are you pushing these policies? This is going to, of course, hurt us financially. So now they're at a situation saying, you know what? These people are not going to be dependent on us. So let's just take what we could get right now. Let's make sure we get a good profit off of the stupid policies put on by Joe Biden that, of course, hindered domestic energy exploration and production. This is a deliberate action by the Biden administration that just blew back in its face, and correctly so. People should be pissed. People should be angry that the government tried to bamboozle them for a month, tried to lie to them for a month, just for a better rating, just for a better outcome when it came to the midterm elections. That's just disgusting.
I want to show you this. This is CNBC reporting Biden administration asked Saudi Arabia to postpone OPEC decision by a month. And this is CNBC saying, notably, the White House's request would have delayed the decision until after the U.S. midterm elections. And just that. There was no long-term protection of gas prices for the American people. It was literally just wait 1 month. What would that accomplish? Let's say the election has nothing to do with it. What does a 1 month delay do for anyone? Does it end the war? No. Does it stop Russia from financing their war? No. It all would just carry on. All it does, the one thing, is it protects Democrats by keeping gas prices just slightly down up until the midterm elections. And then afterwards, off a cliff.
Yeah. Rasmussen also says that there's a direct statistical correlation between approval ratings and gas prices. So, of course, they try to bamboozle. They try to lie. They try to manipulate the situation just so they could get more power that they're going to, of course, use to screw you over even more, which is crazy.
I want to fill in the picture of the quid pro quo. Here's CNBC again. Biden threatens consequences for Saudi Arabia after OPEC cut, but his options are limited. They are outright telling you right now, the president is threatening this country because they wouldn't help him, his party, win an election. Now we have The Guardian. Democrats issue fresh ultimatum to Saudi Arabia over oil production. And these people, man, this is dirty. What do you do? What do we do?
Well, one thing is to read. I mean, that's one way we can do things, but also, become more knowledgeable on what's going on. I read the response from the Saudi Arabian kingdom. The last, it's a short read. It's like 10 paragraphs. The last paragraph says the kingdom affirms that it view its relationship with the United States of America as a strategic one that serves the interests of both countries. It's very plainly saying, we're only doing this because it benefits us both. Don't screw us over. Yep. Are they a nuclear power at this point? I believe that. Have we given them all the nuclear secrets? They have nuclear bomb?
There's rumors that they did get a nuclear bomb through U.S. intelligence. At
this point, I think they're very happy to cut ties with the liberal economic order if they get screwed.
Yep. That's why they've already been like, look, OPEC Plus includes Russia.
Right.
So they're outright just like, we're good. Screw you. And when remember when Antony Blinken was talking to the Chinese official, and China said to his face, you are not negotiating from a position of power. Man, the U.S. has come a long way. When Donald Trump was president, he really was reigniting something about America, whether you like it or not. There was fear that people looked at America as like Trump was a wild card. He was a madman in the good way and the bad way. Now under Joe Biden, it's a joke. Saudi Arabia is laughing at him. He's trying to play dirty politics so he can win political power. I think ultimately it's going to blow up in their face. It's the economy, stupid. Republicans, I think they're going to see victory. We've now got more polls, a new poll coming out saying that in the toss-up states, Republicans are up 5 points. So when you look at the generic ballot, it shows Democrats are leading, but that's polling people in AOC's district. We don't really care about that.
They have so many districts that are so blue and so lopsided. That's why they're all talking about why everything should be decided by national popular vote now. But that's not the way the constitutional structure of this country works, for very good reason. And, they're desperate, they're reeling. Inflation in general is remained a problem. Gas prices are going to go up again. All of the things that they were hoping would improve by November aren't really looking that inspiring.
It's funny. There's a bunch of memes going around where, who was it? Ted Cruz tweeted something. Did you guys see this tweet from Ted Cruz where he's like, here's a list of problems that have occurred under Biden's administration? And it's like 12 things. And then I'm seeing all of these tweets getting screenshot and shared where they're like, Republicans voted, there were bills to solve all of those problems and Republicans voted no on all of them. And I'm like, imagine being stupid enough to think that was a rebuttal. The Republicans are not in the majority and their votes are meaningless in this capacity. What you are actually saying is that all of these problems occurred with a Democrat-controlled Congress and executive branch, meaning every attempt to solve these problems either didn't work or actually made the problem happen in the first place.
Inflation Reduction Act, you have core inflation running at a 40-year high. Inflation Reduction Act passed. It's law. President Biden signed it into law. So you can't really say that Republicans voting against this bill caused inflation.
Exactly. But there are people who fall for this stuff.
I've been thinking about the cost-benefit analysis of producing carbon in the United States because it's dirty. It's admittedly dirty. In fact, I found out just a few days ago, I was watching an interview with John Fetterman, the guy who's running for Congress and Senate in Pennsylvania, and which is part of the Congress.
It is Congress, you're right.
And he lived at that period across the street from the last steel mill in his town. I mean, it was just churning out steel, and he had a stroke. So, was that related to living across the street from a steel mill? I mean, I can't say it's unrelated. I don't know that. Yeah, I think it might be related. So
I think any industrial setting is going to have a negative impact.
Oh, horribly dirty. But at this point, it's recapture the carbon. Capture the carbon as it's coming out of the smokestack. Don't just stop producing it. That's my opinion.
I agree. And I've actually had a lot of conversations because of what you've said, Ian, about graphene, carbon capture from the atmosphere for the production of graphene. And whether it's for the production of graphene or not, it's a really interesting point because we talk about the turn of the century in New York where they were scared that horse manure would be everywhere. Then we invented cars and all of a sudden there was zero horse manure. Look at that. The problem solved. The technology solved the problem. Now we have carbon in the atmosphere. A technology will come about and it will solve this problem. It will shift there will be a new problem we'll eventually solve. I have tremendous confidence in human ingenuity and technological advancement.
Yeah, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, was just talking about carbon, but he was talking about carbon sequestration and how it's happening and it's getting, the private sector is taking it on. It's going to be a bigger and bigger deal and more important, but he still referred to it as like carbon reduction, and it's not. It's carbon transmutation. You're taking it from one form and turning it into another form, but you're not reducing the amount of it. You're just repopulating. You're replacing it.
Luke, who is the carbon they're trying to reduce?
You.
No, but the funny thing is when they talk about population reduction, and they do, they talk about, outside of any kind of conspiracies, you actually have Bill Gates saying we need to slow population growth. They're quite literally saying the humans that they want to reduce that. You are the carbon.
Yeah. I mean, once you reduce energy, you reduce human potential and human growth. So I think that's why there's a deliberate agenda to say, hey, no, we got to get off fossil fuels. Hey, we have to get off this particular energy source. We have to get off something that, of course, has been running and helping humans progress in society. And that is just absolutely detrimental. That's going to lead to absolute havoc. And I think it's very fair to say that we are fast approaching a situation that is going to tank the economy deliberately in order to bring on the central controllers so they could come in with their solutions to the problems that they caused.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.